Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So we start off the chapter with Leo trying to rebuild the houses that were destroyed in Dressrosa by the Luffy versus Doflamingo fight, or by the birdcage. And we get a time frame in the first page because we see Baron Tamago. We also see Big News Morgans finally. We haven't seen him in a while. And Stussy. And Tamago says that it's 9:30. We all know this culminates at 1. So that gives us a little bit of an estimate, even though technically speaking, in manga time, 3.5 hours doesn't really mean much. It could be anything from like 3 chapters to like 30 chapters. So it's you know, it's whatever. But Stussy does mention, well, she reveals that the thing that caused Whole Cake Chateau to collapse was the Tamatebako box, which was rigged with explosives. And I definitely think that's something that will come up in the future as a way of prolonging the conflict between Big Mom and the Straw Hats. It'll probably be something like after Big Mom eats the cake, she'll say something like, well, the cake was delicious and everything, but I still can't forgive you for, you know, messing with my treasure and destroying my castle, or something along those lines. That line by Stussy and Tamago being there to hear it is definitely going to come back. Then we get introduced to Charlotte Flambe, which, in accordance with the theme of naming Big Mom's children after sweets or desserts, you know, that's flambe is the way that some desserts are served, like a flame. You know, in Beauty and the Beast, there's a song that goes, pie and pudding on flambe. And I like her design because it reminds me of some of those people that dress up as fruits for commercials and stuff. And I think her goal of becoming the little sister king or whatever, that is very endearing. But her introduction seems kind of random. The timing of her introduction seems kind of random. It's kind of like, what is this new character doing here? Like, I could definitely see her serving a purpose later on, but right now, as it stands, just based on this chapter alone, it seems a little bit like strange. But maybe Oda wanted like some type of an announcer or a narrator to point things out from the Luffy and Katakuri fight. Maybe he needed somebody there to hype up the fight even further, like that announcer guy in Dressrosa that was like, Luffy, like, I can't believe he landed a hit on Katakuri, or I can't believe, you know, brother Katakuri is doing this. Because she's going on saying how Katakuri should always be perfect. And so if Luffy manages to make Katakuri fall on his back, or, you know, touch the floor with his back, she'll be there to declare it or something like that. And we also find out that she's 15 years old and the 33rd daughter of the Charlotte family.
15 years old and the 33rd daughter of the Charlotte family.
I'm really hoping that that's just a typo. In fact, I think it should be, because there's been other instances where Oda has mixed up the order of the kids, of Big Mom's kids. But in case you don't know why this is a problem, let me explain. If this is in fact true, that Flambe is the 33rd in line, and she's 15 years old, okay? It's been previously established that Pudding is the 35th daughter of the Big Mom pirates, or of the Charlotte family. So by definition, if Pudding comes after Flambe, that would make Pudding younger by age than 15 years old. And she's being married off to Sanji. So again, if this is true, Pudding should technically be younger than Flambe. So either this is a mistake, or there's some other hidden explanation that Oda has not revealed yet, because if not, then this is getting into some pretty gross territory. Hashtag time's up. Or what was the slogan? The thing that they did at the Golden Globes, like, is it time out, or time's up, or your time is up, or what was it called? Whatever. I predict that there's going to be some serious damage control for this incident right here. From my point of view, if this is not a mistake, and if we don't get any further clarification on this subject matter, I think it's just absolutely disgusting, very disturbing. You can say a whole bunch of things, like Oda has tackled adult themes in One Piece before, but the context of this seems like it's just like matter of fact. Yeah, like she's 15 years old, therefore Pudding has to be younger. There's no severity attributed to the fact that Pudding may potentially be younger than Flambe. So hopefully it's just an honest mistake, or maybe Pudding used her memory ability to like mess things up or something. I don't know. And just as an FYI, the national age of consent in Japan is lower than it is in other countries. So I'm just letting you guys know, I still think it's gross and disturbing. So hopefully Oda explains this in the future. And that being said, if you're gonna damage control, just be careful. Just be careful how you damage control this, because it's a very touchy subject. We finally get back to Luffy versus Katakuri. Katakuri using his awakening donuts to try and hit Luffy. Luffy dodges an attack that hits the floor. Then Luffy tries to counter the attack, but Katakuri dodges that and counters the attack himself. by using a Gatling, and some of his hits actually land. They actually make contact with Luffy, but Luffy also manages to dodge some of his punches, or at least one of them, and Katakuri says, like, is he really trying to dodge this? So what's happening here is Luffy is awakening the ability to use the future observation haki ability that Katakuri has. I really like the action sequence in this chapter because it just kind of serves to highlight how much of a pro Katakuri is at fighting. Like, he's like hitting Luffy with a Gatling out of a donut, and then he comes in as Luffy's dodging that Gatling to kick him, to smash him into a wall, to solidify him with Mochi, which I think he did before, but Luffy escapes by busting through the other side of the wall. It's very descriptive too, to the point where it almost feels like Katakuri is kind of like teaching Luffy step by step what he's doing to sort of prevent Luffy from getting anything done. He's like, well, if you try and get up, I'm going to throw a punch at your face so you can't get up. If you try and hit me with your left, I'm going to hit your shoulder before you actually, send that punch to me. And if you hit me with your right, I'm going to do the exact same thing. So it's kind of like a step-by-step process here. And Luffy's learning, and I think that's kind of like the point of like Rayleigh's speech that we had before about how like Haki blossoms when you get like pushed to your limits. Kind of like very, very Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z-ish. It's also not the first time something like this happens in One Piece, and what helps Luffy greatly, as pointed out by Flambe, is his speed and his durability. We also know that Oda is a Star Wars fan, so that scene where Luffy closes his eyes and hears Rayleigh's voice reminded me of that scene in The Last Jedi where Luke is training Rey. He's just like, just breathe. Feel the aura of his attacks. Just breathe. Now. Reach out. And he reads the hit and blocks it, but then Katakuri flanks Luffy, he goes over by his side and kicks him and sends him down again. Now here's my question. Was the big punch that Katakuri was using to try and deal damage on Luffy, was that a block Mochi attack? Because if it is, I have to say I'm a little bit surprised that Luffy was able to match that punch with an elephant gun. Because as far as I remember, and I may be wrong, but I think the only thing that Luffy had in his arsenal that could match the block Mochi that Katakuri was dishing out was Gear Force, was a muscle balloon, right? But I don't know, I may be wrong. And that's not really the big issue here. The main point that I'm trying to make is that from a fight progression standpoint, is that if Luffy is capable of matching a block Mochi hit of that size with an elephant gun, you know how when this fight started, like people were speculating, oh, Luffy's gonna get awakening, or he's gonna have to maybe show us a new mode, something like that. It kind of reduces the probability of that happening if he's able to match Katakuri's attacks with like a Gear 3rd elephant gun hakied up. But then again, Oda may surprise us with something, so we never know. I'm just saying I think that those are the implications that I saw from him being able to catch that hit the way that he did in this chapter. The design of the wedding cake aboard Capone's ship is literally an exact replica of the one that was destroyed in the tea party. So it just kind of, again, highlights Sanji's ability as a cook to sort of like just having a look at the previous cake and smelling it, and then being able to put it back together by memory. And then there's a speech about like Luffy and Sanji refusing to give up or whatever because people are believing in them. It's very shonen-y type of speech. And then finally, we have Big Mom chasing the Sunny. And the fact that they've been able to stall her out this long is amazing to me. It kind of gets you thinking like, how in the world has this ship not been sunk already by this Yonko? And you have the shot of Chopper, which kind of heavily implies that he's been able to take a hit from Prometheus. But we don't know what happened because Oda just, cuts right to it. And then Chopper has like a very weird plan of grabbing Big Mom. I'm like, how are you even going to grab her if Prometheus is that size? It's crazy. Like, how are you even going to get your hands on her to try and sink her? And then Jinbei even says, even if that were to happen, I think like the fact that Prometheus is that large, it'll probably end up like evaporating all the seawater anyway because it's just so big. I feel like the whole Big Mom chase thing has kind of like affected the pacing of this portion of the arc. It's pretty entertaining, but I think it has affected the pacing. And also I think it requires, some suspension of disbelief. But then the cake comes, like, she smells it coming. And it's Sanji, so essentially Sanji pretty much just saved his friends at the end of this chapter. I didn't see Zeus anywhere in this final page, which is interesting. Also, what happened to Pound? Overall, I thought the chapter was okay. The Luffy versus Katakuri fight definitely served to elevate this chapter a lot in my eyes, just because of how well done it was visually. It was very fun to go through visually. Other than that, please let me know your thoughts I have to be honest, I didn't want to make this review not because of the chapter, but because my dad is currently in the hospital. So, he's under observation. I wasn't feeling myself, but I kind of I had to force myself to do this because, I just felt like it, and it helps in a way. But just so you know, I guess if I do a Dragon Ball Super video tomorrow night, it's because things have gotten better. But if not, I hope you understand. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.